And welcome to DeepDive Talent Insights and Analytics channel. This is I Think I Love My Job. So this is our Think Differently series with conversations about topics that impact the employee experience. I am Kalifa Oliver, your resident expert in all things employee experience here at DeepDive. What are we going to talk about today? The NPS. Let's go. I think it was based on a comment I made in another video where I said, that's another conversation. Recommend a company to friends and family. That is a topic for another day. We're gonna have a long talk about that. So I've gotten a lot of requests online and offline for me to talk about the eNPS. Well, eNPS for employees, but it's the NPS. So I'm gonna talk about it. I'm gonna tell you how I feel about the eNPS as a measure for employees. So I'll tell you off the bat, statistically, it's not the most valid measure, and statistically, it's not one of my favorite measures, but I do recognize that it's a measure that's really, really well liked by a lot of organizational leaders. In fact, people feel very strongly about the eNPS and NPS. Let me tell you a story. In a previous role, if you know me or follow me, you know that I post things on LinkedIn, and especially when it comes to data and statistical topics and things related to employee experience and people analytics. And somebody reported me to our ethics line for having the nerve to say that the NPS is not a valid statistical tool. So I hope you're watching, whoever that was. I'm still saying it again. It's not a valid statistical tool. It's not that serious as well. I'll talk about eNPS because I'm talking more about it from an employee perspective. The eNPS is just like the NPS. The eNPS is like the NPS. It asks the question, would you recommend, your likelihood to recommend the organization to friends and family as a place of employment. And that's the general, there's slight variations. So you can ask close friends or family, either way, it's slight variations. And it's on a 1 to 10 scale. In some cases, they use the 0 to 10. But the calculation of the score splits the scale, where 9 and a 10, they're considered promoters, and 1 to 6 or 0 to 6 are considered detractors. Everybody else in the middle, who would be in the middle of it, they're not using the calculation, and it's essentially promoters minus detractors, and so the score could be negative or positive or neutral. So that's what it is. The NPS itself is a measure that is most closely related with loyalty, right? How likely are you to do it? It's more of a loyalty measure. The NPS is typically used a lot in sales and marketing. You'd always find organizations may ask you, how likely are you to recommend this place to friends or family? In that sense, it's a little bit easier to digest. With the eNPS, it is a similar vein, and it's asking how likely are you to recommend. And again, it's highly related to the concept of loyalty to the company. And so it's more along the lines of company reputation and loyalty in terms of the construct that it's measuring. The issue with the eNPS versus the NPS is that, let's say I went into Walmart and I did not like the service I received or the products that they have or the value that they're giving me. In many cases, I can get in my car or get on my bike or walk across to Target and go there instead, right? There's a lot more choice. It is a weaker situation. I can choose to say I'm going over here instead and get this. There's more choice when it comes to retail. There's more choice when it comes to sales. I can buy from this person instead of this person. It's a snap judgment. It's easier to make that decision on the spot. With the eNPS, when you're asking somebody that same question, there's a lot of it depends that happens, because if I don't like how my company is treating me right now, if I don't like, so let's say, using these same two examples, let's say I worked at Walmart and I was like, I absolutely don't like how I'm being treated here. I don't like how I'm being paid here. I want to go. It is unlikely that you could just go across the street, get in your car, go to Target, get behind a register and say, yeah, I'm working here now, right? Because that's a stronger situation. It's less likely. So there's a lot more riding on a decision when it comes to employment as opposed to a decision when it comes to buying something. So this, if you just look at that, is one of the reasons it's not one of my favorite tools when it comes to really trying to understand employees. The other issue with the eNPS is that there's so many different variables that it could confound or impact its ability to be the best measure that it can be. So a good example would be in COVID, right? There were a lot of people who lost jobs and people who were out of jobs and people who were just really, really struggling. And there were a lot of companies who were hiring. And so if you ask somebody at that point, would you recommend this company as to your close friend or family as a place to work? You're more likely to say yes now, right? Because people are struggling. And so the economy can have an impact on how somebody answers that question. Sometimes it's like, yeah, it's a job, it's something to do. And so, necessity and economy becomes more important than actual loyalty and company reputation at that point. And so it's one of those things that's very hard to tell. The third thing is the fact that the middle group we just ignore them. You picked an 8, we don't care. And so when what ends up happening is you have this 10-point scale, right? At least that's what it looks like, but it actually is just a 3-point scale masquerading as a 10-point scale, and really we only care about 2 of those 3 points. And so from a statistical perspective, it's not the strongest scale when it comes to employees, and that's why it's not necessarily my favorite topic. But what I will say is it's an additional metric. So it's a value add metric that you can use in trying to understand a full context of people. But what I've seen within a lot of organizations is it's used for performance evaluations. It's used as a key metric for organizational evaluations. And the problem is it's just not a strong enough measure to just stand alone. And the other thing is, I always tell people that when it comes to the eNPS, yes, the calculation is promoters versus detractors. I get that. But a lot of times looking at the whole scale gives you a lot richer information when it comes to employees. So you can use it, but you can look at it a different way as well, so that you get more information about people in the middle and people across the entire scale, as opposed to just a calculation. And so when you add it into your toolkit of things that you get to really understand the full spectrum of employee experience, then I am cool with it. But when you start using it as an outcome variable, when you start using it to punish, to promote, to pay, then I'm out. I'm out. It is not a strong tool to do that. It's like your doctor making a diagnosis, a serious diagnosis of cancer, when all the doctor did was check your temperature, right? temperature could be affected by so many other things, and so you really want to make sure and get a full diagnosis. So yes, your eNPS might demonstrate a symptom, something might be going on that needs further investigation, but it's not the tool that has the weight to carry anything else like engagement, experience. It doesn't, because work is a very different situation. It's a strong situation, and it's a situation that is so contextual and so nuanced and full of different things that affect it, that just relying on this one tool, this one metric to answer your question is not the best thing to do. So in summary, it's a value add tool and it should be used that way. It is a good idea in doing contextual evaluation using the eNPS to take a look at the whole scale as well as the promoter and detractor model. It should not be used as a standalone tool. It is not strong enough to do that, and recognize the context of it. And so that is it for my discussion on the eNPS today. I would love to hear about you. I know people have strong feelings about the eNPS. Feel free to leave me a comment or a question. If you like what you've heard, if this speaks to you, don't forget to hit subscribe, and always remember, there's always room to have a brilliant experience. Bye.